I work overtime in order to afford my child support. I pay every month. I pay $1,500 and $1,521 and like 65 cents in child support. That comes off the top. That happens. My baby mamas get paid before I do. So in order for me to be able to do anything else, pay my rent, feed myself, put gas in my goddamn car, I have to work overtime. The game is the game.
A practicing attorney.
That's right.
And specializing in constitutional law and family law.
So anyway, this is not a small thing. It's not a one-off. I would say a large number of people in the child support system are being screwed over. And sadly, it's the government that is the animal doing this job. And yes, I'm not saying we don't have a moral obligation to ensure that we have, the obligations of dads and that they stop shacking up. But you know what? It takes two to tango. And it actually, in this case, takes three. You cannot go to a single public school in Maryland and not see the government encouraging kids to shack up with one another as early as 11 and 12.
If I were the masters and commanders of reality, or the rulers of a country, I wouldn't want 100 million men just free walking around. I would personally, hey man, you feel free to do whatever you want to do, and then I would create systems to pretty much keep them, sort of, my slave to a degree. It sounds messed up to a degree, Logic, but why else have these systems in play here?
I think ultimately, though, your question comes to the source of this, and what we saw when we saw an increase in no-fault divorce was the standard began to shift over to less of a constitutional understanding of support, which was really kind of the old English model, which the old common law English model was you support for those in your house. And if you don't provide for those in your house, you're actually, under the old days, you could actually get in bad trouble if you didn't support. And actually, there's still case law. There's still statutes on the books regarding provision of the elderly in your house, for instance. So you're
saying if there was a situation where not taking care of an elderly parent or a sickly child, there's laws against that right now, fire support.
Yeah, there's strict laws. In fact, it used to be criminal. They're moving more to, kind of a judicial kind of estoppel method, but the statute's there, and the encouragement, the common law system's there, that you have to be able to take care of your family, particularly those in your own house. The problem became this no-fault divorce when you could split the family up, send over a dad who was, or let's just say mom too, but majority of cases are dads. They have a home, they're providing, and some other guy comes along and they split. And now this guy has the kids and the mom, and he's got his own house. The dad has everything he could provide, and yet he's disfavored under a standard that really is archaic when you consider that there's supposed to be an equal understanding of gender under the law between man and woman, husband and wife. And yet this archaic model of forcing the father to pay for the mom to live with another guy and basically be disincentivized to see his own kids. This is what's happening. This is the reality.
I understand all the negative impacts, but the system is there for a reason, right? Like you're saying, plenty of men get screwed, and I'm willing to accept that as a reality. The systems generally screw us to begin with, so why would one be any different than another? But how many bad dads are there? How many guys deserve the child support they're on, right? Like that's the real question. The system's there not for the guys that are swept up or have a case, right? Like, but what about the guys who are deadbeats?
Honestly, in my 20 years of practice and in the state delegate position, I've not met one person on any side of this issue that believes that it's not broken. I just haven't.
Again, I don't disagree. I'm just asking, like, we all agree it's broken, but there are definitely dads who deserve to be in child support, right? Because they're not paying. If the system worked and it wasn't broken, these guys would still be in it. For all the guys that might be free of it, these guys would still be in it because they're not paying without the state interceding, right? Like,
respectfully, it's exactly the opposite. The system was created to take the good guys' money. There's over 100 million in outstanding debt owed in, for instance, in Baltimore City and in
233 million in Baltimore City, and that was a 2020. That was a 2020 number. 233 million in Baltimore City alone. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That number accounts for guys who are on child support that aren't paying it, correct?
Debt, yeah.
Okay.
When you start the system, you're already in debt. But go ahead, Dan.
So I'm saying all those guys should go to jail, right?
No, I mean, so the question becomes, should you go to jail over a debt? And we answered that 250 years ago this year, and we said no. We should stop these asinine debtors' prisons, which back in the day we've experimented with that. And here we have 100 millionaires that default on loans and they walk away through the bankruptcy process. We have a constitutional bankruptcy process, and yet people who are struggling to get by, who want actually to see their children, because of the emotions of interfamily relational issues and all of that comes with people that cheat on one another, that run around on one another, whatever happens. Yes, I agree with you. It's a moral issue at heart, but at the end of the day, the system was not created to fix that. It was, yes, maybe a Band-Aid or an attempt to try to say, well, we can't have a lot of, poor children. We need to try to take the money. But the problem is it has exacerbated that. And one of the best examples of this, in my humble opinion, are all the sweet children that run around with no fathers in their lives. And, just on basically the welfare is all its provision, is the only thing they have. And their fathers are not actually paying child support anyway, because in part, let me just be their defense attorney for a second. You get an arrearage for 30 grand. You're making minimum wage. Well, what is that going to incentivize for any guy out there? Total deprivation of their wealth. I mean, you cannot pay off a $30,000 loan easily. As soon as you get let's say you go get a job at CVS or at, let's say you get a really good job. Maybe you're making 80 grand as a trucker. I actually have a client who was making 80 grand as a trucker. It's decent money. Well, at the end of the confiscation, supposedly they can take up to 55% under federal rules, but they take more than that with the arrearage. And at the end of the day, you're left in total poverty. So what does that incentivize on the streets? I'll tell you what it incentivized. It incentivized a illicit type of capitalism, meaning people need capital, they need money, but they start doing it through the trades that are not the best, that are actually harming society, the drug trade, et cetera. And because you can make hard cash, it's under the table, et cetera. So you know how that works. So I think ultimately, it's an issue for discussion, but we've been talking about it too long. We have policies that have proven that the old systems of 50-50 actually work better. For exactly what you're saying, Gimpy, is that we need to incentivize and then focus in on the real deadbeat, so to speak, because that's what this always is bringing up people. Well, there's people that are always going to skimp out. Like you see some news article in Chicago, and there's a man with, he's got children by 25 women. I mean, yeah, okay, so we have to make sure that we can do that, but there is a mechanism under rebuttable presumption, right, for 50-50. You know what the mechanism is called? It's called a rebuttable presumption. Let me explain that real quickly.
Please.
Rebuttable. Yeah. So what happens is you're presumed under the law, like being presumed innocent. You're presumed to be the dad. You're presumed to be the mom, and you're presumed to be equal under the eyes of God and man, right? So you can have equal time with your kids, which means zero child support. Now, you can rebut that, whether the CPS or the state or either party can come into court with hard evidence showing that you are a very bad person and you do not care for your kids, and it doesn't matter what you do to incentivize that person, they're going to abandon the family. And in that case, with evidence, which actually that's a whole nother thing we should talk about sometime, the rules of evidence should, they should apply the rules of evidence to family court. They don't actually apply the rules of evidence.
That's a big thing, though. I mean, that's huge. Because what is something that could be included in the rules of evidence that would you say, and I want you to continue, but what's one thing that could be considered in the rules of evidence that just completely gets thrown out?
Quickly, I'll tell you what happens all the time is unsworn statements. Best interest attorney argument taken as evidence. attorney argument taken as a CPS workers coming in with unsworn statements, attorneys, CPS workers, and witnesses providing unsworn statements, and then the court rules on it. Or even worse, this is what really happens all the time. If you have a child custody case, 9 times out of 10, your attorneys are going to be asked to be called into the back chambers, and they're going to work out the entire case off the record, no evidence provided, based upon the conversations of the attorneys. Now, the idea is in the court is it's overwhelmed, right? There's 50% of all the cases in the state system are family law. And so they're overwhelmed. And of those, like 50% or more are pro se, meaning they don't even have lawyers. So there needs to be, so a lot of times there'll be these backroom discussions like, well, how do we resolve this? Nobody knows how to present evidence if they don't have lawyers to help them. And so they just work out a deal.
Yeah.
The deal is usually against both parties. I mean, it just always tends to favor a lopsided view.
The more the nightmare grows. I'm serious. The more you talk to him, the more I'm glad I don't have kids. Like, honestly.
We gotta have kids, man. But,
No, dude. I go back to my original statement. Fuck the system. Make better choices. Pick a better pull-out game. Pick better women.
Yep.
This is fucked up, dude. I didn't realize it was this bad till then. Dude. I'm CT. High five for Dink, right, man?
Welcome to Just the Guys Podcast.